Welcome everyone to our Show and Tell, Innovating for the U.S. Crisis for Accessible, Affordable, Quality Childcare. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kylie Burke, and I'm a Senior Advisor with Promise Venture Studio and a lifelong early childhood educator. I'm joined today by my colleague, Chelsea. She's the entrepreneur in residence here at Promise and a passionate advocate for childcare providers. Promise is a nonprofit venture studio that attracts, supports, and connects people and capital to catalyze innovation in the early childhood community. Today's event is part of our Show and Tell series, which highlights early childhood organizations with promising innovations, especially those that support children and families facing the greatest adversity. During this incredibly challenging time, alongside our grief and outrage for the ongoing racism against the Black community, we also have a renewed commitment to supporting the work of all of you here today. Now, the early childhood community alone cannot fully address systemic racism, yet our collective work is fundamentally rooted in social justice and in doing our part to build a world where all children can fulfill their innate promise, ensuring that all young children and their families have a sense of belonging and a safe community to call home, that there's equitable access to high quality early care and education within diverse, inclusive, and respectful environments, and that young children have the opportunity to learn to be successful, empathetic, confident members of a just society. The United States is experiencing a childcare crisis which has only been exacerbated by COVID-19. Families with young children often have few viable childcare options. For the vast majority of families, the cost of care is simply unaffordable. Even when families can afford to pay for high quality care, there are often too few seats available where they live. And despite the high demand, caregivers and early educators often struggle to make a living wage. Yet even in my own experience, to be an exceptional caregiver and teacher of young children, that's leaps and bounds harder than anything most of us do during our work days. Innovation in this space must keep these folks front and center. So let's start our time together by hearing from some of these skilled, passionate, and dedicated women.
Oh, I get excited. I get excited, and it's the little things that mean so much, like hearing a child say, "Hi," for the first time. I said, "Did you hear that? You said hi, hi, how are you?" That kind of thing. It's the little things that they do that excite me so much, because I know it's growth there and they're feeling good.
I'm happy to know that they are learning, and it's exciting, and I'm a part of it.
They keep me young, and I love that. I love the process. It never gets old. I love the fact that I can take an infant and watch the stages, and then the child is walking. I love the fact that I can take a child and now they're talking, that they can have letter recognition, number recognition, shape recognition, and be able to see that and to see it unfold. It never gets old for me. It really, truly does not.
La primera vez que yo llegué a Keith and Kin.
The first time I went to Kith and Kin, it was like coming home.
In my life, it wasn't easy. But now I feel like free. It's like a dream. Yeah. See?
Buttons, my buttons, my one groovy button, my button, my button. I get a lot of satisfaction from my job. It's a happy job. I see children playing all day. I see them growing, developing. It's very satisfying. That's a real big aspect of why I enjoy what I do.
Y siempre crecí soñando ser maestra. Y me siento bien feliz realizando mi sueño de toda la vida. Yo entrego todo lo mejor de mí, todo el amor.
I believe that my kids, come the next generation, they'll be the next presidents, the next nobles. Yeah.
I love that video. It's so inspiring. You know, those are the women who are shaping the next generation of our world's citizens and leaders. Watching it gives me so much hope for the future. As a field, if we can leverage the power of that kind of high quality caregiving and teaching, we will be successful. So let's please keep their words in mind today, and let's go ahead and get started. So a thank you to our sponsors for supporting our work today. We are so grateful to the Campaign for Grade Level Reading, Imaginable Futures, Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Early Childhood Funders Collaborative, and Valhalla Charitable Foundation. And a big thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to learn about innovations in access, affordability, and quality in early care and education.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea and I'm really excited to be here with you today as well. We designed Show & Tell to accomplish 3 goals. First, we wanted to bring together a diverse national community of current and potential funders of early childhood initiatives. Second, we wanted to frame some of the most important topics in early childhood by bringing together the perspectives of experts from across the field, including educators, parents, entrepreneurs, researchers, and more. Finally, and most importantly, we wanted to create a forum for connection, support, and ongoing collaboration between today's presenters and each of you participating in the event. We've intentionally designed Show & Tell to catalyze connections that increase our collective impact. Now we rely on your deliberate engagement, curiosity, and generosity. Today, you'll get quick introductions to 19 different innovators and experts working to address childcare access, affordability, and quality. Each presentation is short to help you get an overview of many exciting developments in the field at one event. Think of each presentation today as an opportunity to open a door and begin building a relationship. After each presentation, you'll see a poll pop up on your screen asking if you want to connect with the speaker. If you say yes, we'll share your email address with them and they'll follow up with you. We'll also send you an email with more information about all the organizations you opt in to connect with today. We'll move quickly, so to keep oriented, we encourage you to follow along at this website. For each presenter, you'll see some key facts like their location and whether they're a nonprofit or a for-profit. You can also opt in to connect at that website, share questions or ideas for the speaker, and share feedback on the presentation with the option to be anonymous. All of these ways of connecting are an opportunity to increase the collective impact of our community. I ask and challenge everyone today to think about what you can give through this forum, whether it's constructive feedback, an introduction, a partnership proposal, or an investment. A few more logistics: you'll have access to all these materials later through that same website, and those connection forms will stay open. So if something resonates later, go back, share feedback, and connect with that venture. There is no single organizing framework that can represent the whole childcare system, but we've worked with experts to organize today's agenda into 2 sections. The first is focused on childcare access and affordability, and the second is focused on quality. We've divided the market into 3 groups: family, friend, and neighbor care, family child care, and center-based care. We'll use this image to highlight which care settings and topic areas each innovation is focused on. Of course, quality, access, and affordability are deeply connected, which is why we've added these white arrows. Ultimately, all of today's innovators are thinking about how they can help create an environment that is optimized for relationships and quality interactions. So for the next few minutes, Kylie and I will share a bit more context on the childcare crisis, and then we'll dive into our 19 innovator presentations. So let's define these 3 care settings. FFN caregivers work in a private home and in an environment that doesn't require a state license. They are often grandparents, aunts, and other friends and acquaintances, and their work may be paid or unpaid. Family childcare is early care and education offered in a provider's home for pay and in a setting that is regulated by the state. Centers include any licensed childcare setting outside of a private home. For the purposes of today's event, we're primarily focusing on children birth through 3 years old, so we won't focus on pre-K settings. Roughly half of children under 5 receive care in a home-based setting, primarily family, friend, and neighbor care. The children in this setting are disproportionately low income, infants and toddlers, children with special needs, and children living in rural areas. We hope this framework offers some clarity to a truly fragmented market. Also, just so you know, we'll use a few terms interchangeably today: childcare, early care and education, and early childhood education. And we'll also switch between the terms teacher, educator, and provider.
So let's look at some key facts to better understand the crisis today's innovators are working to address. First, early care and education is unaffordable, with the average cost exceeding public university tuition in 28 states. Second, even when families can afford it, care is difficult to find. Over half of Americans live in a community with 3 times the number of children under age 5 as there are licensed childcare slots. For parents who work nights and weekends or who have unpredictable work schedules, these challenges are even more severe. And at the heart of accessible, affordable, and high-quality care and education for our littlest learners are the caregivers themselves. Early childhood teachers are some of the lowest paid professionals. Nearly 40% rely on public assistance at some point in their careers. In 2018, the median salary for a childcare worker was roughly $23,000. And low wages lead to increased turnover, which compromises the quality of care that children receive. These low wages are also unjust. The early education workforce is almost exclusively female, and roughly half of all licensed providers are people of color. It's not a coincidence that our society systematically undervalues this labor. Childcare is essential to racial, gender, and economic justice, both for the caregivers and educators themselves and for the mothers who rely on childcare to be in the workforce. Yet our government doesn't invest in early care and education at nearly the same levels as other wealthy countries. Childcare providers lack reliable and consistent revenue across the board, which represents one of the greatest challenges to being able to increase the supply. Reimbursement rates for serving low-income families are often too low for providers to break even.
So our childcare system was already in crisis, and then the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Over 350,000 childcare workers have lost their jobs, and up to half of our supply is at risk of permanent closure. Most of today's videos were actually recorded before the pandemic, and the challenges they address have grown even more acute. We'll share some updates with you about how these innovators have continuously adapted over the past few months. What's clear is that now, more than ever, we need bold solutions to these systemic challenges. In an incredibly difficult time for our country and for childcare in particular, these innovators are points of light. Supporting their work is one important step all of us can take to catalyze a new path forward in early care and education. So let's get started with our first section on access and affordability of childcare. Our first group of innovations is focused on improving parents' experience of finding childcare.
For our first demo, as a working parent, I'm pleased to introduce Wiggle Room, helping to make it quick and easy for families to activate their personal and trusted family and friend network to coordinate childcare.
$30 billion. That's how much working parents lose each year because they don't have access to flexible, quality childcare. Even though the average parent spends more than 4 hours every week planning and coordinating childcare, it doesn't always work out, and they must miss shifts and forego wages. For a worker making $15 an hour, this adds up to $4,800 a year, or 16% of their annual income. My name is Jamie Jen Lewis, and I'm the founder of Wiggle Room. We are an early stage startup with a mission to make it quick and easy for parents to coordinate childcare with the people they know best and trust most, their friends and family. The idea for Wiggle Room grew out of research with hundreds of low-income workers, like Bianca, a retail worker, and mother to 3-year-old Alicia. Often, her boss asks if she can pick up a few hours with little notice. Bianca needs the money, but she immediately begins to worry about who will watch Alicia. On her break, Bianca texts her cousin, but she doesn't hear anything back in time. She tells her boss she can't work. She feels like a bad employee and a bad parent. This is why I'm excited to share Wiggle Room, an app that helps parents ask for help. Parents use us to find childcare when they're in a pinch, and we manage the outreach and logistics, freeing them up to focus on the rest of their lives. Here's how it works for Bianca. When she needs care, she simply opens the app and creates a request in just 36 seconds. She chooses from her own network, instantly reaching as many or few people as she wants. Her friends get a simple text that allows them to opt in or out immediately. Bianca finds someone quickly, and Wiggle Room does the hard part, like figuring out who goes where, when, how to do daycare pickup, and most importantly, the words to Baby Shark. We've saved Bianca 4 hours of texting and worrying, and we found her childcare. But that's not all Wiggle Room does. We are also building a community of support around Bianca. Wiggle Room is the place where Bianca can put all those folks at work or her kids' school who say, "Let me know if you need anything." The average Wiggle Room Parents Network increases by 300% in just 2 months. And we know that parents feel guilt and shame around asking for help. So we prompt friends and family to say why they're supporting Bianca, and we put it front and center in the app. We launched our first web app in November 2019 with a beta testing group of 50 parents. We find childcare in 82% of those cases, and we save our parents an average of 4 hours per request. With the growing threat of coronavirus, we're adapting Wiggle Room to address one of the most critical needs, supporting the essential workforce in food and healthcare. We are modifying our tool to align with the CDC's guidelines on social distancing. Wiggle Room is expanding quickly, and we need your help. If you're a parent, sign up for Wiggle Room and share it with your community. If you're an employer, we want to work with you to support the dynamic needs of your employees. And we're looking for strategic partners to help us grow. I hope that you will join us because everyone needs a little wiggle room.
It's such a great idea. So folks, you'll see a poll on your screen now giving you the option to connect with Jamie Ginn and Wiggle Room. If you're a parent, an employer, or a potential strategic partner, or if you have an idea or feedback to share, you can opt in here. And don't forget, you can also opt in at the Follow Along website and share more details on why you're connecting. Now let's hear from Ann Halsell, co-founder of Winnie. Winnie is a nationwide childcare marketplace currently focused on helping providers who are most at risk of permanent closure because of the pandemic.
Hi there, I'm Ann Halsell, co-founder and head of product at Winnie, a marketplace for daycare and preschool used by millions of families across the United States. Like many of you, our mission is to support parents and children, as well as the caregivers and teachers who are so important to their success. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that childcare is essential to a functioning economy. Over 2/3 of children under 6 live in households with all available parents in the workforce. It's one of the most important service sectors, yet lacks a centralized marketplace. The truth is that providers need a platform to reach families. The vast majority of childcare businesses are in-home daycares. They're not tech savvy, and over half of them have no online presence. This makes them totally undiscoverable to modern parents who search for care on the internet, and it has a significant impact on their business. We discovered that providers who don't list their program online earn on average 40% less than those who do. Winnie has built the platform for childcare. We're bringing parents and providers together in one system nationally. To date, we have listed over 175,000 licensed childcare providers, and we've helped over 7 million parents connect with quality care. And our platform works for everyone. This map shows the last month of search queries on Winnie. Tens of thousands of families looking for care in over 16,000 US cities. We're not just building a solution for 1 or 2 urban markets. We connect parents to providers in all parts of the country. Parents trust Winnie because we have the most comprehensive directory of providers with up-to-date information they care about: availability, pricing, licensing, photos, and more. Nothing like this has ever existed before at this scale. Every day, we send thousands of parent referrals to providers listed on our platform. Providers need Winnie now more than ever. The pandemic has been devastating to childcare businesses, the majority of which are small or sole proprietors. 4 out of 5 providers are now operating at 50% capacity or less. We estimate 20% of the nation's licensed childcare businesses have already closed permanently, and another 40% are at risk of closing. If we don't intervene, the nation's supply of childcare providers could collapse. We're doing as much as we can to help. We built an emergency childcare portal and have sent over 40,000 referrals to daycares that are providing services to essential workers. We've added safety information to our listings to help parents better assess risk, but it's not enough. With your help, we can do more. Winnie is looking to partner with philanthropic investors and communities to raise $150,000 to offer promotional services at cost to 1,000 at-risk childcare providers on our platform. For $150, each business would get personal support and onboarding from our provider success team, followed by 3 months advertising services completely free of charge. With your help, we can place families with the providers most in need of new customers and help them rebuild their businesses. Thank you.
It's so wonderful to hear about all of the work taking place in the field to help support childcare right now. You know, if you'd like to connect with Winnie or if you think you can help them with their goals, you can opt in on the poll on your screen. You can also send them feedback or ideas on our follow along website and opt into connection there as well. In addition to Wiggle Room and Winnie, we wanted to share some other promising organizations working on childcare search. A new project from Rock United, a longtime national restaurant worker advocacy organization, is entering the early childhood space with The Village. It's an app to help families share childcare with trusted colleagues and friends. Bridge Care, Bowtie, and Bright Hive are 3 companies that have come together in the pandemic to develop an emergency childcare solution that helps governments monitor real-time vacancy data. Childcare Aware is the National Association of Resource and Referral Agencies and an advocate for affordable, accessible, and quality childcare. And Care Lulu offers a parent-facing search engine. Our next section focuses on innovations tackling access and affordability on the provider side through innovative support to the business operations of childcare providers. To frame this section, I'm very pleased to introduce an expert talk from Louise Stoney, who will share her vision for transforming the business of early care and education.
I'm Louise Stoney. I've spent my career focused on improving the quality, supply, and affordability of early care and education in the United States. About 10 years ago, I co-founded Opportunities Exchange to focus on shared services because I was deeply concerned about the future of our field and the many small child care programs that provide such important services to children and families. When I started my career in the 80s, the biggest issues facing the field were low wages, poor quality, and limited supply. And I believed the way to address those issues was more public investment. So I worked really hard to do that, as did many of you who are listening today. Well, here we are, 35 years later, and we've actually gotten a large increase in public funding and a lot more focus on early care and education. But we're still struggling with the same issues. How could this be? I've come to the conclusion that our progress is blocked by long-held beliefs that just aren't true anymore. If we change our thinking and many of our practices, we can deliver quality early care and education at scale. Let's look at the key ingredients of success. Here's our formula. Pedagogical leadership and business leadership equal high-quality early care and education. And let's talk about that first bucket. Most people think pedagogical leadership is about teacher credentials. That's the myth. A growing body of research is underscoring that the key ingredients to successful teaching and learning is site-based, job-embedded leadership. What does that mean? It means that time is the most important factor. Time to observe and assess children, reflect on what you're seeing with peers and skilled supervisors, and make adjustments in your teaching. It's about time, not just credentials. We've got the same misconception around business leadership. Most people think that the key ingredient is business training. But we've learned that's another myth. Adding a class to a director's already busy schedule isn't likely to produce results. Here's what science tells us about training. It's called the forgetting curve. Look how quickly training content is forgotten if it's not reinforced and integrated into practice right away. We've learned that business training can be effective when delivered in real time, using real data from the child care program, and integrated with technology tools that are used daily to reduce providers' total administrative burden. So it's not just training, it's support for change. Now, let's talk about this vexing issue of teacher compensation. Many program leaders believe there's nothing they can do about wages without a lot more money. And yes, more money would make a big difference. But it's the thinking that we're powerless to change that's the trap and the missed opportunity. Here's a real-world example of transformational change. Look at what this center was able to make happen in just 1 year. In January 2018, this childcare center was spending only 48% of its personnel budget on teaching and learning in classrooms. In 1 year, they were able to shift resources and boost spending on classroom teachers to 62%. That's a very significant change in just 1 year. And what did that mean? It meant better benefits and wages for teachers. It meant 17 more hours a week for the director to work with teachers in the classroom. Remember what I said previously about the need for more time to focus on job-embedded professional development? Here it is. How did this transformation happen? This center stepped out of its comfort zone and did several important things. They started to use an automated child management system. They joined a shared service alliance, which made it possible to not only reduce administrative expenses, but increase revenues because they had access to highly skilled fiscal managers and HR support. They made teacher wages a priority and committed to shifting the benefits of shared services and automation into better compensation and working conditions for teachers. This is a stunning but not unusual 1-year turnaround. How can we make this the norm and not the exception? By implementing a shared services approach throughout early care and education. Here's the biggest barrier. Most childcare programs in the United States are very small, which means a single individual is responsible for overseeing all business and pedagogical leadership. It's just not possible to succeed under those conditions. But we can change that by using a shared services framework to reinvent the business of childcare so that programs have the tools they need to succeed and feel empowered to lead us into a new world. I believe that every center director deserves an administrative team. I believe that every teacher deserves a pedagogical leader. And I believe that every child deserves a skilled teacher who loves their job. We can make this dream a reality if we have the courage to step out of our comfort zone and try new ways of doing business. I hope you agree and that you'll join our movement for change.
That's so powerful. I agree with all of you in chat talking about it. Luisa's expertise and insight is extraordinary. You know, as you just heard, shared services gives providers time back. And in the wake of the pandemic, it's more important than ever as a way for providers to become financially sustainable. Okay, that poll is going to be up on your screen, and you can connect with Louise there or at the Follow Along website. And while Louise shared an example from a center, these strategies are equally applicable to family childcare providers, as you'll hear from our next two presenters. And then I also want to acknowledge folks that my colleague Chelsea is in Chicago, where apparently they're having terrible storms right now. So we've lost her for the time being, but she'll join us as soon as she can. Our next venture up is CC Busy. It has a particularly innovative approach to automation for family childcare providers. Here's co-founder Shamira Williams to share more.
Hello, I'm Shamira Williams, CEO and co-founder of CC Busy. We're helping childcare providers document their daily interaction with children using the power of voice assistants like Amazon Alexa. I ran a group childcare facility out of my home. I'm actually a second-generation provider. I have always used technology to help manage the mountain of paperwork required. I created CC Busy to help all providers manage their paperwork. There's so much reporting. Families want information about their child's day. Regulators want documentation about a child's activity. Subsidy providers want electronic attendance information. But we know paperwork doesn't take care of children, providers do. When my co-founder and CTO shared his voice assistant experiment, I immediately saw the potential to reduce paperwork. With CC Busy, childcare providers can say, Echo, open CC Busy.
Welcome to CC Busy. What activity would you like to log?
Marcus arrived.
Would you like to log Marcus arrived at 10:22 a.m.?
Yes.
All done.
CC Busy uses voice technology to give automation to childcare providers without a steep learning curve or high equipment cost. With CC Busy, we expect to save providers 4 hours a week. We are using data to build confidence and trust in the quality of care. Families better understand their child's development. Regulators have documentation of compliance intended to protect children. State subsidy agencies reduce costs by accessing electronic attendance data. We're using cohorts to connect providers with CC Busy. Home-based facilities can be low-tech enterprises, so we create teams to encourage success. We partner with lead agencies to recruit providers they serve to receive annual subscriptions. CC Busy builds community with the cohort through a series of state-approved professional development, including initial orientation, ongoing training, and support. To date, we have a contract with First Up, the Philadelphia Early Childhood Education Advocacy Group, to sponsor a cohort of 12 providers. CC Busy is seeking to raise $250,000 in contracts and investment to support a year of operating costs, allowing us to hire more staff and to launch additional cohorts in several states with the goal of reaching 200 providers. Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you.
All right, folks, that poll is on your screen. If you want to connect with an entrepreneur who's building a great product based on her own experience as a family childcare provider, take this chance today and learn more. Up next is an innovative partnership between the Nebraska Early Childhood Collaborative and Wonder School, with the goal of increasing access to high-quality family childcare. Here's Mia Pritz from Wonder School to tell us more about it.
Our childcare system is in crisis. In Nebraska, as in most states, providers earn poverty wages, a median of $11 per hour for family childcare programs. Families struggle to access care. 84% of counties don't have enough slots to meet the needs of families, and too often, low pay and low provider attention leads to low quality of care. These problems are especially acute for family child care providers who are often overwhelmed with the triple responsibility of being caregivers, educators, and small business owners. They often struggle to manage their businesses and keep their doors open. Together, Wonder School and the Nebraska Early Childhood Collaborative are piloting an innovative and scalable solution to this childcare crisis. Wonder School is a growing software-based childcare marketplace serving 9 major markets in the U.S. NECC is an Omaha-based nonprofit using shared services principles to support providers across the state. Here's how our partnership works. Providers use Wonder School's proven software platform, which includes a suite of marketing tools and ongoing assistance for business management and payment collection. This set of services cuts providers' costs and increases their income by maximizing enrollment and collections. The Wonder School platform allows an individual to launch new family childcare programs in less than 2 months and increases access to care in communities, making it easier for parents to find those programs and enroll. NECC delivers high-touch quality support for providers through their on-the-ground presence and local relationships. This includes an initial assessment of a provider's ability to meet Wonder School's quality and safety promise, as well as mentoring to support continuous quality improvement. By working together, we are so much greater than the sum of our parts. We offer more comprehensive support, including both business and quality supports, than either of us could provide on our own. This is the deep support needed to ensure the sustainability of the family childcare sector. The partnership also enables scale. Wonder School is able to launch more quickly in new markets. NECC can reach more providers across the state by using software-enabled service. Together, we can help providers become financially stable and ensure parents have access to high-quality care. We are currently recruiting our first 15 providers for the program. Ultimately, we hope to scale throughout Nebraska, including in the child care deserts that are prevalent in rural communities. Wonder School is looking for new opportunities to partner with forward-looking organizations to bring our services to other markets. NECC is looking for additional partners to test innovative solutions to the child care crisis in Nebraska. In a broken system, we need to expand our thinking and form unlikely partnerships to fix entrenched problems. We are ready to partner with you and make transformative changes for childcare providers and families. Join us.
What a powerful example of partnership in the field. You'll see that poll on your screen now. If you'd like to connect with Wonder School or NECC about partnership opportunities, or if you have another idea or suggestion, please opt into making a connection. When my son was 2 years old, I was returning to an office work environment full-time and had to find full-time care for him. Up until that point, we'd been using our own family friend and neighbor network, cobbling together the care we needed when my partner and I couldn't cover it, like many families do. I chose family childcare for his first group care experience because it felt like home, like he was part of a small family. His teacher expertly navigated both his transition into care and mine. I'm so grateful to family childcare providers for what that experience was for me and my family, and for all of the love, patience, and wisdom that they share with the children and families they serve. Let's hear from some of those amazing providers now.
I think parents choose my program because it's a family environment. My assistant is my mother, and I think that makes the parents comfortable because it isn't so much strangers. They meet me, they meet my mom, so they get to see where my thought processes come from. They see where everything that I'm doing started. This is an environment where their children are nurtured like a family. That's what draws people to me.
No, lo que uno hace es sembrar una semilla. No, y pensar que esa semilla va a ir creciendo y va a ir formándose.
I grew up where the child was raised by the community. What were they teaching me? How to help out? The listening ear, the listening feelings, trying to understand that empathy. And that's what I try to bring each day to my kids in my daycare and to their parents.
Because I am now fully committed to, I've always been a professional, first of all. Let me just preface that, okay? I don't see myself as a babysitter. No, I am a professional. So therefore, being a professional, you have to be business savvy. You have to be business smart. I'm not going to work harder. I'm going to work smarter. And so this particular program helps you to work smarter. And that's what I feel I've been able to do. Family child care has as much right to be at the table as centers, as well as ABCD, as well as private schools, as we should not be considered the low man on the totem pole any longer.
It looks like Chelsea was able to rejoin us. I think that it's no coincidence that she joined right as that video was playing, because I know that that is your favorite, Chelsea.
Yes, sorry everyone. Joining back in after some internet issues here in Chicago, but I absolutely love that video, and I know, as those women shared better than anyone could, the need for innovation and impact in family child care is great. The good news is there are other promising organizations in this space. My Village is a network of high-quality family child care educators in Colorado and Montana. And since the COVID crisis, they've launched a relief fund to support families and educators in their network, and we're part of Colorado's Emergency Child Care Working Group. We Care, a managed marketplace of home daycare providers, was featured in our recent Show and Tell pop-up series. You can learn more about the video, more about them from the video on our website, which features We Care's quick response to the pandemic, including building fever checks directly into their software and an emergency child care partnership with the City of Los Angeles. You can read about other high-impact organizations working on child care access, affordability, and quality in the Innovation Glossary, which features more than 30 other organizations with full profiles on the Promise Venture Index. So let's move into our final section of organizations innovating on child care access and affordability. These organizations work across settings to advocate for policy and systems change. We'll start with the Raising Child Care Fund, a group of longtime funders using their platforms to catalyze grassroots change and movement building. Rebecca Gomez, Program Officer at the Heising Simons Foundation, will tell us more.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Gomez, and I'm an Education Program Officer at the Heising Simons Foundation. We are proud to be a part of the Raising Child Care Fund, a consortium of funders contributing to the growing grassroots movement for early care and education in the United States. We think the fund provides the innovation capital necessary to seed breakthroughs in building public will for lasting change, and we're seeking new funder partners to join the pooled fund in order to accelerate a grassroots national movement. Let me tell you a little bit more about why the fund started and the kind of change we're supporting. We are doing this because there is a childcare crisis in this country. Finding and affording high-quality childcare is a challenge for most hardworking Americans. Despite years of research on the importance of early brain development and widespread understanding that quality childcare is too expensive for most families, the United States is still not making the public investments in childcare needed to have a meaningful impact. So a group of established private early childhood funders and experts asked, why? We concluded that a main reason is a lack of support for grassroots organizing for childcare. Rarely do we lift up the voices of those most affected by the national childcare crisis to be heard. It is even more rare for policy solutions to be centered in the experiences of families and teachers. Our first step was to find out where organizations were having an impact through organizing from the ground up. We found a groundswell of interest in childcare among grassroots groups around the country, and then we developed our investment thesis. We can only build will for change when we directly invest in groups working with families and early educators who can raise this issue with elected leaders and hold them accountable for investing in early care and education. The goal of this approach is to amplify the voices of those most affected by the status quo. So far, we've raised $1.9 million, and we've made one initial round of multi-year grants to 9 organizations building support for childcare. They are doing this by growing parent leaders, organizing the childcare workforce, and building statewide coalitions with allies such as faith-based organizations, early childhood advocates, and business. Our grantees are working on childcare as a part of a broader social, racial, and economic justice agenda. For example, in Georgia, 9 to 5 focused historically on working women's issues and started to hear from them that childcare is holding them back. They can't find it or afford it. 9 to 5 began holding pop-up sessions in places where families meet up, particularly in rural areas outside of the Atlanta metro region where the lack of affordable, high-quality childcare is most critical. Through their Raising Childcare Fund grant, they're hiring a community-based organizer to work with families and home-based childcare providers to identify the biggest challenges and potential solutions and bring them to state leaders. In recent decades, the early childhood community has made progress in crafting an evidence-based policy agenda. Now is the time to build a grassroots movement, to focus the public will to implement these solutions and ensure that they truly reflect community needs. Why? Because grassroots organizing around childcare has synergy with other movements for better pay, benefits, and working conditions for families with low incomes, such as an increased minimum wage and paid family leave. It is connected to broader civic engagement and has voter rights efforts and creates accountability for public officials to follow through on plans and promises. It builds leaders within communities who can speak to the need for social, racial, and economic justice. And in urgent situations requiring rapid response to protect the needs of children and families, grassroots power can enable a more equitable response. We are learning every day from movement leaders what it takes to build a grassroots movement for childcare and how it fits into the larger spectrum of work we're doing to strengthen children and families around the country. We've made a start, but 9 grantees won't get us to the tipping point we need to build a national movement. For every grant we've made, we've had to pass on 2 others, so we need your help. We are eagerly seeking national funders to join our pooled fund. We are also seeking local, state, and regional funders interested in learning more about partnering with nonprofits and other funders in their states to build capacity for grassroots organizing. Together, let's raise more voices of those most affected in this childcare crisis. Please join us.
Thank you, Rebecca. If you'd like to connect with the Raising Childcare Fund, especially as a local or national funding partner, please opt into that poll on your screen or the Follow Along website to start that conversation.
At Let's Grow Kids, they're creating a new system for Vermont and a model for other states to follow by building a statewide movement to secure affordable access to high-quality childcare for all families. Here's Allie Richards to tell us more.
Here's the truth. 70% of our children require childcare because their parents are working, and their parents are paying already upwards of 30% of their household income on that childcare, even though they still can't find full-time quality care. At the same time, our early educators are making below poverty wages while caring for our children at the most crucial time in their brain development. This system is broken. At Let's Grow Kids, we're building a new system for Vermont, a model that other states can follow. We're securing affordable access for high-quality childcare for all families, and our deadline is 2025. We're committed to this aggressive timeline because there's a moral imperative to get children everything that they need to thrive now. Is this easy? No. But is it doable? Yes. And Let's Grow Kids and Vermont are doing it. Our strategy is 2-tiered. First, we're working to get access to high-quality childcare for families right now through grants and technical assistance to early educators and investing in workforce development. In the last 2 years at Let's Grow Kids, we've helped create 1,300 new high-quality childcare spaces. That's filling 15% of the gap between supply and demand. But it's not enough to treat the broken system. We're modeling what a well-funded system could look like, and that brings me to tier 2 of our strategy. We're building the system of the future by changing policy and increasing public investment and involving as many people as possible in the movement. At Let's Grow Kids, we have 30,000 Vermonters. That's 5% of our state population calling for change. And we know it works because we've already done it with universal pre-K. In 2008, we worked with local partners and increased access from 20% to 75%. That meant that we created a tipping point by filling the gap, and lawmakers no longer had an excuse for inaction. So then we helped write and pass the law, making Vermont the first in the nation to have universal pre-K for all 3 and 4-year-olds. But again, pre-K isn't enough. Our goal is to fix the system birth to 5, and we're on track to do it. In 2019, we had unanimous support for a child care bill and a historic 30% increase in public investment. When we secure our system in Vermont, we'll have created a whole new kind of tipping point because we will show the nation that, yes, this is possible, and we'll have a scalable solution to our nation's childcare crisis. But the truth is we cannot do this without philanthropy first. Remember, we have to show lawmakers what's possible. We have to build the system that we want to see, and that's where you come in. We've raised $35 million. We have $21 million left to go, so that when we achieve our mission in 5 years, we'll be able to sunset and leave behind a publicly funded system. When we invest in our children, everyone benefits. Please join our movement today. We can't do this without you. And it's personal. Let's grow our kids like these kids, and let's grow our future together. Thank you.
Oh, those babies make me so happy. And Laura and others in chat, I definitely second your comments. You know, the work they're doing at Let's Grow Kids is amazing. And with the onset of COVID-19, they were really in a position to be the linchpin between stakeholders. They've supported essential workers with finding care, provided much needed supplies for providers, and they shifted their attention to securing a stabilization package for the field that holds the childcare industry financially harmless through this time. For more on their incredible work through the pandemic, you can check out the video on our website. If you're interested in connecting with Let's Grow Kids to learn more or to support their work, you'll see the poll on your screen and you can opt in to connection. Up next is Build Up for San Mateo County's children. So let's hear from Christine Padilla on the work they're doing to embed spaces for childcare into city planning to increase access for families.
Hello, I'm Christine Padilla, and I'd like to tell you about Build Up for San Mateo County's children. In regions with competitive real estate markets, one of the greatest barriers to meeting a community's need for childcare is finding the facilities, the physical square footage to house programs. In San Mateo County, we have such a tremendous and growing shortage of quality childcare and early learning spaces that the county has actually had to turn down more than $1 million in state support for subsidized childcare due to lack of facilities to house the programs. The average cost to build the physical space for childcare is almost $41,000 per child. With a projected need for 14,000 more spaces by 2025, it would cost well over $400 million to meet the demand. Recognizing that a lack of facilities is one of the most difficult obstacles to overcome, community leaders formed Build Up, a cross-sector initiative committed to identifying solutions, creating more facilities for childcare and early education, and pioneering an effective approach for communities across the nation to emulate. We take an inclusive 4-part approach to meeting the community's needs for childcare facilities. Reusing existing available space, including childcare and new developments, partnering with large employers, and generating new capital funds. We start by identifying opportunities to reuse and redesignate existing facilities for early learning, like faith-based centers that may have vacant space and seek to earn revenue in line with their mission. We work with cities and the county on policies and incentives to prioritize childcare and future developments, include language in their general plans, and streamline the permit process and waive fees. We engage large employers to create childcare facilities for their employees and become advocates for early care and education. This includes working closely with chambers and economic development agencies, as well as showcasing local companies who are setting an example. We assist current childcare providers with drawing down state and federal funds that may be available to them for program expansion. And most importantly, we've launched a capital fund for facility development. Through our efforts, BuildUp has helped get 1,600 new childcare spaces developed and has preserved more than 700 spaces from closure. We've established trust and made alliances with government, the business community, the nonprofit sector, and regional planning advocates who now join us in making the case for early care and education as a vital component of community infrastructure. Join us, invest in our local model, help us build a capital fund. Let's break down the facility shortage barrier and build up bright futures for our children and families.
That's such a great idea. You know, it's one of the great things about today is hearing all these amazing ideas. Well, understanding that the need for quality childcare is only going to continue to increase because of the pandemic, BuildUp is staying focused on their mission of building and expanding access while supporting current programs to preserve their businesses through this challenging time. If you're interested in supporting the work of BuildUp, or if you'd just like to learn more, you'll see the poll on your screen now to opt in to making a connection.
Our next venture, Neighborhood Villages, also works on both policy and practice with the goal of changing the entire childcare system in Massachusetts. Here's co-founder Lauren Kennedy to tell you more.
Families in America are facing a childcare crisis. As a result, family economic security is threatened, and children are denied access to the learning environments that set them up for education success. This is a problem statement with which we're very familiar. We're also familiar with the symptoms of the problem: the astronomical cost of care that prices families out of options entirely, concerns over the quality of our early education programs, the exploitation of our child care and early education workforce, who make on average minimum wage. We've spent years discussing the symptoms. It's time to address the root cause. Our country's child care system isn't a system at all. It's a market, and it's fundamentally broken. Until we fix it, we're not having a serious conversation about how to improve access to high-quality early education and care. That's why Neighborhood Villages is running straight at the root cause of our broken childcare market. We're doing this through policy change and community-based interventions. Think of us as part think tank, part community fund. We're driving systems change by convening policymakers and leaders from the private and public sectors to make Massachusetts a model for childcare policy reform. We're bringing new partners to the table, and we're spearheading new conversations. We have an audacious policy agenda, and we're fighting for the big win: structural reform that funds the true cost of quality and improves affordability for families. Make no mistake, this level of reform requires public funds to subsidize the cost of childcare. But our vision is attainable, and we know this because the United States already runs a publicly subsidized childcare program for the U.S. military. For families in uniform, military childcare is a high-quality program that is both affordable and accessible. It's time to replicate this program and make affordable childcare available to all families. But policy reform won't be fruitful unless we simultaneously lay the groundwork for the change we need to see. That's why Neighborhood Villages is also on the ground, working with community partners in Massachusetts to bolster existing childcare networks. We're strengthening the building blocks of a healthy childcare system. We're investing in the quality of early education and care programs by providing operational support to partner childcare centers to enhance their capacity and promote continuous quality improvement. We're investing in the professional development of early educators by operating a workforce development program that provides educators with a debt-free pathway to CDA accreditation and a teaching career. and we are meeting the full scope needs of children and families. We place family navigators at childcare centers to connect families with the wraparound resources they need to thrive. In Massachusetts, we're showing what success looks like when we turn a market into a system and give it the funds it needs. We're tackling one of the most critical problems facing families today. Join our movement, fund our work.
Thank you, Lauren. Lauren recently wrote an op-ed in the New York Times with the title, "Say Hello to That New Spin Studio and Goodbye to Your Childcare." If that headline intrigues you or if her message resonates, please take this opportunity to connect with Lauren and her team. And that concludes section 1 on childcare access and affordability.
With the onset of COVID-19, childcare is facing a crisis like never before. Let's hear from Chad Dunkley with some passionate words about the impact of COVID-19 on childcare and the public policy initiatives that are needed to ensure that the fragile system is not only maintained through this time, but on the other side of it comes out strengthened as we move beyond the current crisis.
My name is Chad Dunkley. I am CEO of New Horizon Academy. We're a Minnesota-based family-owned early childhood company with nearly 90 schools in 4 states. I'm also co-chair of the Early Care and Education Consortium. It's a DC-based advocacy organization representing over 6,000 childcare centers, early education service providers, and state childcare associations. I want to talk to you about 2 things today. One, how we should rescue childcare providers during the COVID-19 crisis. And number 2, how do we make this industry stronger for families of young children and the childcare providers when this is all over? I want to start by sharing my own story at New Horizon Academy with COVID-19. As I said, we have over 90 schools, and in a matter of 1 week, our attendance dropped by 70%. As you know, childcare providers are living off slim margins. It required me to take immediate action to preserve our 50-year-old family business. We immediately took a 75% reduction of our corporate support staff. We needed to furlough 60% of our early educators. We took salary reductions for our management team, and officers stopped their salaries altogether. We've been telling landlords and trying to work with them to renegotiate rent as our second biggest expense. And so we have basically gone into survival mode. And in all 4 states, our governors said we want childcare to remain open for essential employees who need to work during this crisis and be on the front line. And so for the doctors, the nurses, the police officers, those who work in the grocery stores, many have young children, and we were essential to so they could continue their work. This meant that we had to ask our teachers to also step up and be on the front line as heroes during this scary time. New Horizon Academy, like all other child providers, we're not even sure we're going to survive this crisis because, as you know, we don't know how long it'll be with us. But there is a good thing happening right now in this country about childcare. When this crisis happened, we were quickly deemed essential and critically important to families now who must work and families who will return to work. And we are critical to the economy of this country. This system was broken. And when we rebuild this system, because we will lose providers from this system, we need to fix it permanently. Research shows from the Bipartisan Policy Center at the end of April that 60% of licensed childcare providers have already closed. That those that remain open have done so on reduced hours and reduced capacity. Research shows many of those providers who closed may never reopen. It's clear Congress needs to provide a rescue package for childcare, but the good news too is we have public support. A survey done by Childcare Aware of America in May stated 85% of the public fully supports the federal government to provide enough support during this crisis so childcare providers are able to make payroll, pay other expenses like rent, utilities, and the funding we need to increase compensation for childcare providers and ensure a high-quality workforce. And that's so key. As a provider, it's those fixed costs that will bury many people if they don't get a rescue, because we have so few children in our schools right now that tuition is entirely going to cover just the teachers that are on staff right now, the food and supplies we have for those children. And so we need to help us with those fixed costs somehow for 6, 9 months, 12 months, to whatever we think childcare centers will go back to normal and have all of their children returning. And we need childcare providers to survive. We're a critical infrastructure in this country. So how do we make childcare stronger as well, once and for all? Now, after we do this rescue package, we need more government investments in childcare. We have many families in this country that cannot afford high quality childcare, and they have to take whatever they can get. We have too many childcare providers providing care at lower rates and quality than we want to deliver. Low rates leave providers not enough money to pay educators good wages and benefits. It's because we don't have enough money in the system to consistently deliver high quality childcare with well-paid and well-compensated teachers. So how do we fix that? We can fix it through the Child Care Development Block Grant, the primary funding source of federal money that goes to states to support childcare. But right now, that money is way too small, leaving very low income eligibility in states, helping very few families, and horrible reimbursement rates. Those low reimbursement rates put a lot of downward financial pressure on the industry. And we need to send a lot more money through this fund. That's really the answer. We need to help more families in states with the cost of childcare. Many families, middle-income families as well, struggle. And we need to dramatically increase reimbursement rates to providers. That's going to free up the resources we need into this system to dramatically increase the wages and benefits of early educators. But it's also going to provide much more reliable revenue for something like this if it happens again, a pandemic. The federal government could keep those resources going to providers during a crisis. The other thing we need to do from Washington, we need to improve childcare tax policy. Much of it hasn't moved in decades. We need to increase child tax credits. We need to change flex spending accounts to reflect the new and true cost of high quality care, and look at other tax strategies to support more families with high quality care. And I believe there's hope. I think this crisis actually has energized Congress to look at this problem in a bigger way. There are finally big enough proposals to once and for all solve the childcare crisis in this country. And you know what? It's time for us to step up and realize how critical childcare is to our economy. The motto was fragile and broken, but the U.S. should have the strongest, most durable, highest quality childcare in the world. To do this, we need more financial supports for parents who can't afford quality, and in order to really charge what it costs for us to have highly compensated, highly trained teachers. Thank you for your time.
So important to hear the perspective from someone like Chad. If you'd like to connect with him to learn more about New Horizon Academy or the work of the Early Care and Education Consortium, you'll see the poll on your screen now. Now, Chad's words and the discussions taking place about early care and education right now at the highest levels, well, I hear all of that as a call to action. All of the organizations and experts we're featuring today are doing tremendous work to advance our country's childcare ecosystem. But we all know that there's still so much more to be done. And as Chad mentioned, the time for action is now. Parents, policymakers, employers across the country, people are acutely aware of the importance of accessible, affordable, quality childcare. The need and the public will has never been greater. Well, here at Promise, we see the opportunity for folks across the early childhood community to come together to solve some of these most pressing problems. In the coming weeks and months, we'll be launching programs focused on developing new ideas and bringing new talent into the field and raising up the voices of caregivers, teachers, and families. We want to bring together the skills, experiences, and perspectives of educators, parents, researchers, technologists, community leaders, and more, because we think collaboration and unlikely partnerships will be the key to making large-scale changes in this field. If you'd like to participate, contribute ideas and feedback, or would simply like to be kept in the loop about these continued efforts, please opt in through the poll on your screen. While issues of access and affordability are critical to solve, We know that you do not yield the individual and societal benefits of early care and education unless it is high quality. Access, affordability, and quality must all come together to create the childcare system that all children and families deserve.
Our first innovation focused on quality is Kith and Kin, a program of the Arizona Association for Supportive Childcare. Here's Joyce Ravello to tell you about this amazing model for supporting family, friend, and neighbor caregivers.
In Arizona and across the nation, approximately 60% of children ages 0 to 5 receive childcare from a friend, family, or neighbor, or FFN caregiver. I was one of those caregivers. Like most FFN caregivers, I began caring for children not as a career, but instead as a way to offer support to my family members. I care for my young daughters and my nieces. In general, FFN caregivers live below the poverty line and are minorities. In my case, I was also living with a controlling and abusive partner and didn't know where to turn for support. I felt isolated and afraid. Like most FFN caregivers, I didn't have access to resources or professional development to support me in providing safe and enriching environments for the children in my care until I discovered the Kith and Kin Project. I now work for the Kith and Kin Project, and my story is no different than those I work with every day. For 20 years, the Kith and Kin Project has provided training, support, and resources to FFN caregivers in Arizona to help them create safe, engaging spaces for children in their homes. As a Kith and Kin specialist, I teach the classes in a 14-week program. The participants learn in an engaging support group framework that reflects our language and culture. Each class has on-site childcare available, which allows FFN providers to attend, engage, and build an enduring community with others in the class. We know our model works. Kith and Kin has a program retention rate of 90% and has demonstrated statistically significant gains in caregiving quality and responsive caregiving. 93% of participants reported a change in their interactions with children as a result of their participation in the Kith and Kin Project. And we're growing. Our team of 9 trained Kith and Kin specialists serve more than 1,000 caregivers and impact more than 2,300 children in Arizona annually. Even with our 20-year history, we really believe our work is just getting started. Other states have asked for our support in enriching and serving FFN caregivers in their own communities. We're ready to build our team to provide this support on a national level. But we cannot do it without your help. Kith and Kin is looking for partners and philanthropic support to scale nationally by offering technical assistance to other states, strengthen program content on FFN provider, mental health, and conduct a longitudinal study on outcomes of children in FFN care settings. Support of FFN caregivers is an equity issue that deserves national attention. When caregivers receive the right support, kids in FFN care can shine their brightest. Like my daughter Hatsia, who I am very proud to say will be attending Stanford University in the fall.
Thank you, Joyce and the Kith and Kin team, and congratulations to Hatsia. If you want to connect with Kith and Kin, now is your chance. And I'm excited to share that Kith and Kin is one of several ventures that will be hosting a deep dive following Show and Tell. Deep dives are an opportunity to spend an hour in a virtual group meeting learning more about one venture and asking questions. If this video piqued your interest and you want to learn more about Kith and Kin, you can register for their deep dive at the poll on your screen, and look out for other deep dives which will be announced in the coming weeks and months. Our next innovation is Parent-Child Plus. This is a great example of innovation within the field. Parent-Child Plus is applying a model that was originally designed for parents and applying it to family child care providers. To tell you more, here's CEO Sarah Walzer.
Hi, I'm Sarah Walzer, the CEO of Parent-Child Plus. Our nation is failing to prepare our children for school success. 52% of children from low-income communities enter kindergarten unprepared. Millions of low-income children spend the years before school in home-based care, less than 10% of which is good quality. Meet Maria, a loving care provider who is struggling. She is isolated, speaks little English, has limited resources, and works 12 hours a day caring for up to 12 children. Available professional development does not work for her. It does not show her what to do with her children in her space, in her home language, and when she is available. Parent Child Plus meets her literally where she is to address these issues. What Maria needs is the same approach Parent Child Plus has been delivering effectively to parents through one-on-one home visits for decades. We enrich home-based care with professional development that comes to providers during their long workdays while the children are present. Intensive, customized, linguistically and culturally appropriate support that models quality interaction, provides enrichment materials, and supports age-differentiated activities and family engagement. We know it works. Rigorous evaluation of our core model demonstrates that we prepare children for school success. They are 50% more likely to be ready for kindergarten, 50% less likely to need special education services, and 30% more likely to graduate from high school. Evaluation of our model as enhanced for home-based care shows promising results. Providers increase their talking and listening with children by 33%. Parents report less screen time and more reading at home. As a result, no longer isolated but connected and confident, Maria now identifies as a teacher, not a babysitter. She interacts with children and families more effectively, has enrolled in child development night classes, and is accessing new resources for herself and the children and families in her care. We know how to scale these outcomes. Our 142 local partner agencies conducted 340,000 one-on-one home visits in 2019, and our powerful work with FCC providers has already been rolled out in 8 of our 15 core model states. We are ready right now to expand the FCC model from 200 providers supporting 1,500 families to 1,000 providers supporting 7,500 families. Even this initial expansion creates a huge ripple effect. Over 5 years, with every cohort of 1,000 providers we support, we will reach over 22,000 families. 10,000 providers, 220,000 families. But we cannot expand our meaningful outcomes to all Marias without strong partnerships and new funding. We are looking for local and state childcare networks to partner with, up to $6 million to expand nationally, and critical smaller investments to implement the model on a local, regional, or state level. We invite you to join us in this important work.
Since the COVID-19 crisis, Parent Child Plus is supporting providers with remote visits and flexible coaching. Providers not currently caring for children are still receiving professional development, connection to resources, and assistance creating remote activities to stay connected to families. With continued social distancing requirements, the Parent Child Plus team anticipates an increase in family child care, which would also mean significant new need for Parent Child Plus and growth in their work. So take this opportunity to connect with Sarah and her team to learn more about how their work has evolved and how you can collaborate. You can also learn more about this at their deep dive, and you can register for that through the poll right now.
Next up is All Our Kin. Let's hear from Jessica Sager about how All Our Kin is transforming family childcare supply, quality, and sustainability through strengths-based, high-impact professional learning and support.
Hi, I'm Jessica Sager, and I'm here to talk about creating childcare that works for kids and families. I used to say the childcare system in the U.S. was broken, but then I realized that was giving us too much credit. We don't have a childcare system. It doesn't work for children, parents, or caregivers. So women across the country open their homes to care for each other's children. These family childcare providers meet a crucial need, but we tend to assume their care is low quality, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they don't get training or support. All Our Kin is transforming family childcare with our Quality Highway. Through our licensing support, we expand childcare supply. Through our strength-based coaching and training, we radically increase the quality of children's early learning experiences. And through our business training, we help childcare providers earn more and stay in the field. We work with 1,000 caregivers and 6,000 children in some of the poorest neighborhoods in New York and Connecticut. 2/3 of our families qualify for childcare subsidies and 1/3 receive public assistance. Our work is recognized across the country. It's uniquely successful because it's strength-based, holistic, and rooted in research about how adults and children learn. We're fixing the childcare supply problem. Over a 10-year period, we increased supply by 74%. We transform children's learning experiences. Our educators score over 50% higher on quality measures, and our children outperform peer and national norms on language and literacy, problem solving, and social emotional development. We create pathways out of poverty, increasing educators' pay by $10,000 a year. And we generate an ROI of $15 to $20 for every dollar we invest. Now, with support from Imaginable Futures, Pritzker, Buffett, and others, we're scaling through a train-the-trainer model with pilots in Nebraska, New York City, and many others in the works. RTA helps others to build family childcare networks, train skilled coaches, deliver our business curriculum, and create sustainable policies. We've received great early feedback, and we have an ambitious agenda for scale, planning to reach 15,000 children by 2022. But just as important, we have a learning agenda. We're testing and refining our TA model so that by 2023, we'll be ready to make a big bet with widespread national scale. To meet these goals, we're seeking to raise $10 million over the next 3 years with funding from local partners and from national funders who are committed to our vision for scale. With your support, we can reach 4 times as many children by 2022 and position all our kin to transform the national landscape. Thank you.
If you can support All Our Kin with their funding goals, or if you'd just like to learn more, please take this opportunity to connect with them by responding to the poll on your screen. And we know this is a lot of polls, folks, so hopefully you're not suffering from too much poll fatigue. But again, it's really important to be able to make these connections, and the polls let us do that pretty easily. Some other promising innovations in family, friend, and neighbor care quality include PESO, a Colorado-based program offering training and mentorship for Spanish-speaking family, friend, and neighbor caregivers. And from my home state, Tutu and Me, a traveling preschool program designed for Native Hawaiian grandparents and other caregivers that has begun expanding to the mainland. The National Women's Law Center has created a catalog of strategies to support FFN caregivers, which includes these 2 programs, among 44 others. Now, just as in the parent-child relationship, the quality of the teacher-child relationship can support or limit a child's development and learning. Let's hear from Bridget Hamry on the critical importance of high-quality interactions in early care and education settings.
Hi, I'm Bridget Hamry, co-founder and CEO of Teachstone, an associate research professor at the University of Virginia. At Teachstone, our work sits at the center of research, policy, and practice, knowing we need to bring all of those together to achieve our collective vision of ensuring that everyone has access to life-changing teaching. Decades of research and hundreds of studies using the classroom assessment scoring system, or CLASS, an observational measure of teacher-child interactions, makes the problem quite clear. The daily interactions that young children have in early childhood settings drive development and learning. These interactions literally change children's brains and biochemistry in ways that have consequences for years to come. Too few children experience positive interactions with teachers in early childhood settings, and too few children are given the supports that they need to reach their full potential. Now, it can be easy when we hear these findings to blame educators, but that is exactly the wrong message. Early childhood educators are underpaid, overworked, and unsupported in their own growth and development. And the system designed to train and support them is underfunded, unfocused, and simply not designed in ways to support meaningful improvements in children's daily experiences in early childhood settings. But I'm optimistic, and I'll tell you why. At Teachstone, we work to empower local organizations with the tools they need to focus on, measure, and improve teacher-child interactions. In January, I had the great privilege of seeing this work in action in Louisiana. Miss Sylvia is an infant teacher at Berry Cherry Tree, a child care center in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, owned by Paula Polito. Watching Mrs. Sylvia, I knew I was watching a natural. She's been teaching for 28 years, but I also learned how much class has helped her be more intentional. She's more thoughtful about making the most of each interaction she has with the infants in her care. So how did Miss Sylvia learn about class? Well, over the past 5 years, leaders at the Louisiana Department of Education have designed and implemented a quality rating and improvement system that is proving how well-crafted policy combined with evidence-based tools can transform children's lives across an entire state. Almost every state actually has a QRIS, but despite hundreds of millions of dollars invested in QRIS, the results have been underwhelming. Why? Well, most of these are voluntary systems. They simply aren't reaching all of our youngest children, and they're focusing on too many things and simply not driving improvement in the interactions that matter most. That's what makes Louisiana so unique. They use class as the sole metric in their system to really focus the work of teachers, coaches, and leaders. And it's not voluntary. All early childhood programs in Louisiana that have even one child who receives state or federal funding have every single classroom observed with class twice a year. That's important because it means educators like Ms. Sylvia get ongoing feedback about how to make meaningful changes to their teaching practice. Recent research by Daphna Basak and her team at UVA proves it's working. In these maps, you can see how early childhood programs across the state have made systematic year-upon-year improvements in the quality of teacher-child interactions. I'm optimistic because what I observed in Jefferson Parish is not an isolated case. Miss Sylvia's story is being repeated across the state and in many other states and communities across the country who are using class to drive meaningful improvements in children's daily experiences in classrooms. This work demonstrates the possibility for improving children's classroom experiences at a very large scale. One other quick note that's really important. QRIS are an effective lever for change only when they are aligned with higher ed teaching and training and certification. There's reason for optimism too. There are great examples across the country of people who are redesigning coursework and field experiences for teacher education in ways that train teachers on the types of teaching that matter most. So, what can you do? What part can you play in helping to ensure that all children experience life-changing teaching? Well, first, I'd encourage each of us who work in this space to make sure we continually ask ourselves, with this decision or action, what change is going to occur for children in classrooms? If you can't make that leap all the way to the classroom, how might you move your policy or practice a little bit closer? And second, I wanted you to take the scale challenge. Are you working in ways that can transform not just 1 or 2 or 50 classrooms, but 50,000? We need solutions that are designed to work at scale. Finally, class does not measure all of the teaching practices that support children's development. So let's embrace the research around the country on new and innovative observational measures of more specific teaching practices, such as measures in early literacy, social emotional learning, and supporting dual language learners. Might you partner with leaders in the field to help them validate and scale these measures to continue our efforts to help educators focus on the interactions that matter the most? Of all the reasons I'm optimistic about our collective vision for young children in this country, first and foremost, it's this. Organizations like Teachstone can be a critical first spark to innovation. We can ignite conversations and equip our partners with the resources and tools they need. But true change happens at the local level. And it's so inspiring to get to watch and learn from amazing leaders and educators across this country who share our vision. So I look forward to engaging with the leaders who we'll hear from today and with all of you as we lean into this work in the months and years to come.
If you'd like to learn more about class or the work that Teachstone is doing to improve the quality of teacher-child interactions, you can opt in now to connect with Bridget. Next is Lena, helping care providers accelerate language development in children birth to 3 in order to improve outcomes and close opportunity gaps. Let's hear more from Jess Simmons, Chief Growth Officer at Lena.
The majority of children under 5 attend childcare, spending more than 60% of their waking hours with teachers and providers. Less than 40% of early childhood teachers have the desired level of training and education. There's an essential ingredient that must be added regardless of setting: talk. The science has demonstrated that serve and return talk in the first 3 years is crucial to brain development and life outcomes. What if there was a way to enhance quantity and quality of interactions in early learning environments? The need for more interaction is real. The data doesn't lie. This is a distribution of conversational turns in a given room. Green bars for children with 25 or more turns per hour, and red bars for children with 4 or fewer. 40% of these children are effectively spending most of their days in isolation. These disparities exist provider to provider and room to room, and they widen opportunity gaps. These insights inform and propel our work. I'm Jess Simmons of national nonprofit Lena. We are the global standard for measuring talk and boosting interaction in early childhood. This device, a talk pedometer, is worn by a child to capture and automatically quantify their language environment. It's how we captured the data I showed earlier. It's both a great tool for researchers and a core element of our programs, including our newest, most scalable initiative. Lena Grow is a job-embedded professional development program with a laser focus on teacher-child interactions in the classroom. We not only improve child outcomes, but we strengthen the workforce. For 10 weeks, children wear a Lena device once a week. Each child's audio is automatically processed into easy-to-understand reports, then coupled with short, strength-based coaching sessions for educators. It's not a high-stakes assessment tool. Lena is the teacher's ally, putting data directly into the teacher's hands. Lena Grow is simple. It's about integrating talk into what teachers are already doing, not about adding more to already overflowing plates. We're seeing exciting results, more interaction and more equity. Those children experiencing the least talk see the greatest gains. And nearly all Lena Grow teachers express increased confidence and higher job satisfaction. For child outcomes, the number of children deemed school ready tripled in Lena Grow rooms compared to non-Lena Grow rooms. In 2019 alone, we served more than 1,000 teachers and 5,000 children. Our goal is to scale Lena Grow to reach 25% of the workforce so that we can create a tipping point, transforming the field of early learning. We're seeking connections with state systems leaders and within your community, those programs serving hundreds of children. We believe that with Lena Grow, we can both lift the workforce and move the readiness needle.
If you'd like to connect with Lena to hear more about this incredible work that they're doing to give providers insight into their practice, or to be a partner in implementation, you can opt in using the poll on your screen.
And next up is Wildflower Schools, a decentralized network of teacher-led Montessori micro schools. Here's CEO Matthew Kramer to tell us more.
Hi, my name is Matt Kramer, and I'm the CEO of Wildflower Schools. We've got a big problem in our education system. Teachers feel disempowered, curious children end up uninterested and unmotivated. Families know there must be something better. For years, we've been asking big questions, like how can we improve the system at scale? It's a hard question to answer, though, because the system we've scaled to serve almost everyone has at its heart an experience that works for almost no one. At Wildflower, we start with the smallest question. What do we want in our own neighborhoods, for our own children and others we know and love, to help us all grow into what we're meant to be? We answer that question with a new type of school in a new type of network, self-organizing, self-managing schools that honor teachers, children, and families. Wildflower schools are teeny, just 25 children in a single room. We place schools in shop fronts in the heart of communities, where parents are welcome, families can walk to school, and children and adults can see each other going about their days. Each school serves a 3-year age range from birth to 3, all the way up through high school. Wildflower teachers are visionaries and social entrepreneurs. With limited overhead, they can be paid as professionals as much as 50% more than other teachers in their communities. And Wildflower schools bring together people of different backgrounds, breaking down barriers from the earliest period of children's lives. Schools seek to reflect the economic diversity of our country, with at least a third eligible for childcare subsidies. Wildflower schools are authentic Montessori learning environments. Fully trained guides support children as they do the great work of self-construction, as the protagonists of their own educational journeys. Recent studies show Montessori schools making an enormous impact on closing gaps in educational outcomes across income groups, and 97% of our guides are fully Montessori trained. At the Wildflower Foundation, we make it easier for teachers to create Wildflower schools. We do this by aggregating startup capital, developing roadmaps supported by software and services, including tools to access childcare subsidies or use charter innovation funds, holding the space for mutual support and accountability among teachers, and developing groundbreaking technology that supports Montessori observation without screen time for the children. We also support the growth of Wildflower Network into new places. Drawn forward by the energy and enthusiasm of parents and teachers, the network's grown from a single school in Cambridge 6 years ago to a network of 31 schools in 9 states and Puerto Rico. And our schools work for teachers and families too. 90% of teachers return each year, and not surprisingly, parents are also very happy. Our Net Promoter Score is 86. Wildflowers can grow and spread on their own, but with our help and yours, it can happen more quickly. It costs approximately $200,000 to start a Wildflower school, so we need local donors in target communities to help us start schools, and we need to raise more capital for our National Loan Fund to leverage local grants. We're building the platform that supports Wildflower schools with the help of national philanthropists, and we're searching for 1 to 2 new partners to accelerate our pace. Wildflower started from a small question, but 6 years in, we're seeing that the individual initiatives of many teachers and parents can lead to something much bigger. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. If you want to connect with Wildflower, this is your chance. Whether you want to bring a Wildflower to your community, fund the platform, or just learn more, you can opt in using that poll on your screen or add more at the Follow Along website. Some other promising innovators in childcare quality include Philadelphia's unique apprenticeship program for early educators, operated through a partnership between the 1199 Union and the Community College of Philadelphia, and Early Wins, which is working to transform the early childhood workforce with professional learning, while also working at the policy level to change professional development systems. And you can find more examples in the innovation glossary. Now let's hear from some of the caregivers and educators who have directly benefited from some of today's featured programs.
60% of kids are spending their most formative years in these informal settings where we could very easily ignore and pretend and put our head in the sand and pretend that they're not there, or we can turn around and make a decision to go where the children are and provide services so that the adults providing care for them have the right tools on their belt to make sure by the time they get to kindergarten, they're ready and consequently impact the outcomes for these kids.
You have so many children, and you want to make sure that you are giving them the same interaction, the same attention to all of them. So Lena, in the data, you can see the report for each child. And that was something that surprised me. I said, wow, this is a wow moment. Because to see, okay, that day I didn't talk too much to this particular child, or he didn't talk back to me, or he didn't respond back to me. It gives you an idea what you're gonna work on next week.
Neighborhood Villages has helped me be able to find assistance with finding housing. My boys and I are finally out of the shelter. We've moved into our own apartment. They've also have been helping with getting furniture and getting things that I need for the apartment, and as well as attending classes through their Bunker Hill collaboration. So I'm doing an early childhood education program as well. I feel so hopeful for the future. I'm also looking forward to the future. I'm graduating with my master's in May, so I'm thrilled that I was able to make it this far with their help. It's changed everything for my family.
It's just the best when we can hear directly from folks who are impacted by this great work. Our final section of Innovators in Childcare Quality focuses on a group of organizations working at a systems level to change the way we conduct training, coaching, and professional development. Let's hear from Gail Joseph of the Early EdU Alliance, who's working to provide high-quality college degree programs for current and future early educators.
Hi, I'm Gail Joseph, a professor in the College of Education at the University of Washington. In my research, I look at field-level blockers to childcare quality, like the shortage of qualified preschool teachers, which has never been greater. I'm also a former Head Start teacher myself, so I see this problem as preschool teachers do and understand their needs and realities. Now meet Marta. She's an assistant Head Start teacher, a parent of 3, and she wants to earn a college degree to become a lead teacher one day. Doing so will lead to increased skills and higher income. Like Marta, thousands of early childhood educators in this country want to attend college, some because they're self-motivated to improve their practice, and some because it is a requirement to continue a career they love. But unfortunately, too often, higher education has put barriers in their way. Tuition is unaffordable. Courses are inaccessible for working professionals, and often what they're learning in their classes has very little to do with what they actually need to know to be able to be a high-quality early childhood teacher. And field-based experiences with regular feedback that we know is essential to effectively improve skills aren't even a part of most early learning courses or degree programs. So here's a big idea. What if professional development and degree attainment was as close as your phone? What if you could access complete, applied, and relevant courses on your own schedule? What if these courses included receiving regular feedback and encouragement from a community of other early childhood educators? And what if your professor didn't just grade papers or correct tests, but became your job-embedded coach, watching videos you uploaded and then identifying all of your skills, providing suggestions to power up your practice, and cheering you on to do more? This is the premise of Early EdU. We've developed 18 competency-based interactive online courses featuring the latest science of how to optimize child development and learning across developmental domains. These courses are freely available to partner institutions and systems. And what makes them unique is that they activate the intentional teaching framework. For example, we start by having teachers upload a baseline video of themselves teaching in their own classrooms. Then we start the intentional teaching framework. So teachers know evidence-based practices to support child development and learning. We do this through engaging online video lectures that they can watch anytime. To ensure they can see the evidence-based practice in real-life classrooms with real teachers and children, all of our courses are replete with videos from real classrooms. Students watch these videos and identify when they see the evidence-based practice occurring. Then they watch their own baseline video and determine if they themselves enacted the practice or not. We want them to try the practice out or do in their own early learning settings, so they upload a video of themselves doing this. The video is shared with a community of reflection and practice, and they give feedback to each other. Then the instructor drops in and gives them feedback by following a feedback recipe to find something positive and give a suggestion for improvement. To activate the intentional teaching framework in our courses, we also developed an online annotated video collaborative platform called the Coaching Companion. Here's a screenshot of the Coaching Companion with the play-by-play, one of our features that allows an instructor to tag practices they see a student demonstrate in their videos. The student then can see all of the moments an instructor tagged them demonstrating an evidence-based practice. In addition to using the coaching companion with the early edu college courses, there's also a media library with thousands of videos that faculty can access to embed in their own courses to allow students to see evidence-based practices in real classrooms with real teachers. To scale up, we're building an alliance of colleges and universities, affiliated faculty, and other stakeholders to make these competency-based courses freely available to more and more early childhood educators. We have 769 members to date in every state in the country and even other countries too. In the last few years, we've seen state PD systems take up the early edu courses and coaching companion to use in their statewide QRS systems. And we've seen Head Start grantees partner with local universities to adopt early edu courses and the coaching companion and launch cohorts of degree-seeking teachers. Please connect with us and join the Alliance so we can reach every educator in every classroom. Thank you.
Early EdU really has brought together all of the components of high-quality professional development. If you'd like to connect with Gail to learn more, you can opt in now using the poll on your screen.
Our next video is from the Institute for Early Education Leadership and Innovation, which trains early educators in entrepreneurial leadership, a mission after our own hearts here at Promise. Here's Ann Douglas to tell you more.
Imagine trying to improve quality in healthcare settings without the input of doctors. Yet this is exactly what states do when it comes to childcare. We try to improve quality without looking to the experts, those who teach our youngest children. Why is this? Well, most early educators are women, 40% are women of color. Too often, early educators are seen as the objects of change rather than as change agents. We have so much untapped talent among early educators, yet there's been no systematic effort to develop their leadership as a lever for improving quality. What does exist is largely focused on managerial training, not leading change and innovation. This is where my passion comes from, and as a former early educator myself for 20 years, I launched the Institute for Early Education Leadership and Innovation. We offer something early educators can't find anywhere else. We train frontline workers in entrepreneurial leadership. Our programs are anchored with a 40-hour curriculum that combines 3 essential ingredients: cultivating leadership mindsets, increasing knowledge about how to make change and innovate, and equipping educators to develop concrete solutions that improve quality. Educators come to us with their problems of practice. They become empowered as leaders and entrepreneurs. They design and test solutions and build a peer network that sustains their leadership. We studied the impact of our program for participants and found statistically significant transformation in what they know, what they believe, their mindsets, and what they do. Our graduates leave the program transformed compared to where they started. They know how to lead change, and they believe that they themselves are leaders. And our graduates are taking action to improve quality. Here's what they're doing with this knowledge and entrepreneurial mindset. Ara, who is an infant teacher, entered our PhD program to conduct policy-relevant research about culturally responsive family engagement. Marty started up a new Spanish-English immersion Montessori preschool, and Dottie is moving her family childcare program to the highest quality level in the QRIS and advocating to bring trauma-informed training to family childcare providers. We know that educators are not the whole solution. There's more to it: the system, mindsets, power dynamics, and structures. These all have to change too. Imagine if an entire state took this approach to unlocking the leadership within the early education workforce. Massachusetts just awarded us over $12 million to transform training and technical assistance with our approach to leadership development for its 70,000 educators and administrators across 9,000 licensed centers and family childcare programs. And we've taken our model to Maryland this year too. This is an ambitious vision, and our team, many of whom are our graduates, are already hard at work. We need 3 things: great people to join us and advise us on this kind of scaling, $1.5 million to build our team's capacity, and thought partners who can see a path for scaling in their own state. At a local and a systems level, we're mobilizing the leadership of the experts, diverse, experienced, talented early educators. And in doing so, we ensure that all children have access to the high-quality early learning experiences they deserve.
Thank you, Anne. If you want to connect with Anne and her team, now is your chance. Opt into the poll on your screen or share more context at the Follow Along website. And for our final innovator presentation today, last and certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Erin Lieberman to share a promising public-private partnership between New Profit and the state of Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Erin Lieberman. I'm a partner at New Profit, a venture philanthropy firm, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I spent 25 years building and growing Jumpstart and Oscillera Learning, two organizations that have collectively impacted over 500,000 young children and their families with interventions that we know produce outcomes at the child level. The biggest conclusion I took away from that time and that work is that reality is broken in so many of the environments where low-income kids are served. The last decade of research has clearly shown that a scaffolded curriculum with lots of teacher coaching can really produce big gains for participating kids. But 80% of the programs serving our low-income kids and families use a whole child curriculum that I call TFIO, Teacher Figure It Out, that has little to modest child outcome gains. I've also come to appreciate that no single point solution, no matter how wonderful or how awesome, is going to be able to get to the scale and impact that we need. There's over 4 million children across this country, ages 0 to 4, living at or below the federal poverty level. We need to figure out how our programs and systems can work to impact hundreds of thousands, if not millions of them. That's why New Profit has partnered with the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care to found the Early Childhood Support Organization Initiative. Our goal is to find evidence-based intermediaries, what we're calling ECSOs, that can provide that curriculum and coaching models to local partners who operate facilities and have classrooms throughout the state of Massachusetts. The result will be better outcomes for participating children and families who are served in those programs, as these partnerships will be ongoing. The Early Childhood Support Organizations will be networks of innovation that will help year over year the local partner expand and innovate so that they'll have a bigger impact in the classrooms with the children that they serve. This will all be supported through a unique $20 million public-private partnership, with half the funds coming from Mass EEC and half the funds coming from New Profit. New Profit's raising our dollars philanthropically, and we'll make a grant to each of the ECSOs that will be front-loaded, providing $1 million over 4 years to help them scale up in Massachusetts to build the infrastructure that they'll need to grow. Massachusetts EEC will provide $5,000 per classroom for each local early childhood partner that signs up to work with an ECSO. Importantly, the ECSOs will start with 50 classrooms in the first year and then add 50 classrooms each successive year. So both their impact and support from EEC will grow. Each year they're working at this. In the final year, collectively, the ECSOs should impact over 600 classrooms. As important as the scale is that their work should be almost completely be sustained on the revenue they'll be getting from EEC. The New Profit grant in that final year will have gone down to very, very little dollars. This is really a new type of bet. It's a bet on organizations, not attributes, to be able to make a long-term difference and scale these interventions in the ways that are needed. It's also a bet on a new type of public-private partnership, where Massachusetts EEC is creating the conditions on the ground in the system to help this work thrive. They're focused on supporting programming that will make a difference, not just monitoring. And that will be crucial to the success of these organizations as they build these partnerships. Finally, it's a bet on a new type of intervention that could scale within the existing public spend. That $5,000 per classroom is present in almost every publicly funded system all across the country. What we want to do is figure out how we can have the biggest possible impact by developing organizations that can scale and grow and fund their work at that level. We believe this has the impact to ultimately touch hundreds of thousands, if not millions of kids all across the country. If you're as excited about this as we are, we hope you'll reach out. We still need to raise about $2 million, primarily to fund an evaluation component for this work. And we're looking for philanthropic and public policy partners in new geographies all across the country who are interested in seeing if they can use some of the recent increases in child care development funding to flow in this new innovative approach. We hope you'll consider joining us. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.
Thank you, Erin. Now is your chance to connect with the EXO team, and you can opt into that poll on your screen and share more at our website. So thank you for all you've done today. You've cracked open that door of collaboration a little bit further. Later today, you'll get an email with more information, including contact info for every venture you opted to connect with. The ventures will also receive your contact information, and they have plans to reach out to you. But you don't need to wait to hear from them. If you have feedback, a question, or an idea, reach out directly to these ventures and schedule a time for a one-on-one to talk more. There are also options to connect in groups, like the virtual deep dives you've already heard about, and you can host a virtual watch party, which is an opportunity to discuss how today's presentations are specifically relevant to your community. And the follow along website links to a watch party guide.
You'll be able to find a recording of the day and continue to connect with the featured ventures and organizations on our website. Also there, you can find past recordings and connect with those ventures from our show and tell in January and our recent pop-up series. Our next show and tell in the fall will feature innovations in social emotional learning, so stay tuned for more information about that. We're also excited to share that our second annual Promising Ventures Fellowship application is launching on June 29th. It's a 12-week no-cost accelerator program for early childhood social entrepreneurs. You can find more information about that on our website as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, and another big thank you to our sponsors. We began with a focus on the incredible providers who care for and educate our nation's youngest and most vulnerable children. I think it's only fitting to close this event with them as well. After the video plays, you'll be redirected to a short survey. We'd love to get your feedback on today's event. Take care, stay healthy and safe, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Ready or not, here I come.
I frequently am the big bad wolf outside. They love the Three Little Pigs, and I'm the big bad wolf. It's a chance to forget what's going on in the world and kind of focus on just the natural life, the discovering new things, even though they're already things I know, just looking at things through different eyes. They are the purest form of human, in my opinion. You're going to get straight information from them. Anything you ask them, they're going to give it to you, no holds barred. And I absolutely love that. As adults, we tend to complicate everything. So I enjoy the simplicity of speaking to a child. My personal goal for each child would be for them to just realize their potential. Everything that I've done, to me, seems to have prepared me to do exactly this. So I am ecstatic to be doing this right now.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.